Hello, families and loved ones. I'm Allison Myers, and I am from the Charlotte Rescue Mission Rebound. That's the men's program. I'm here to talk about the roles, the family roles of dysfunctional families. I understand that dysfunctional family is a hard word to hear. I haven't personally met any functioning families. That doesn't mean anything negative. We teach from a book called Making Peace with Our Past by Tim Sledge, and that is about dysfunctional families. I have a lot of the residents that don't want to look at their families as dysfunctional, but that's okay. It just means that there's probably an alcoholic or an addict in their family, or someone that might have another form of addiction like workaholic, rageaholic, gambling, shopping, technology, gaming, all these things. And all that means is that there's a disruption in the family. While we were listening to Barbara earlier, in her genogram, she touched base on the different dynamics of a family. And I'm going to break it down into the wording that describes it best. The first one that we're going to talk about is the addict or alcoholic. And we all know what that is because we have a loved one or a family member here at one of these facilities. And we help that addict or alcoholic with their recovery process. But during this process, it's important for us as family members and loved ones to learn a little bit more on recovery so that we can recover with them to help our dysfunctional family function as a one in a healthy manner. The enabler could be the wife or the significant other, and it could also be, or husband, or it could also be a child. I say that because I'm used to working at the men's facility, so sometimes the terminology messes up on occasion. I have a tendency to understand that the enabler, okay? The enabler, I've been a wife, okay? But I've also have experienced myself with addiction and alcoholism as a young child. I have been all these roles. So I say that not to put the focus on me, but for you to understand that you might not have one role. You might have grown up in an alcoholic home and you might have been a lost child. That would be someone that is withdrawn, isolates, and doesn't want any disruption, wants everything to run smoothly, so they separate themselves. They could have a hard time with alcohol and drugs later, or other addictions like working. The enabler wants to make peace, doesn't want anyone around outside the family to know about the alcoholic. They want to make sure everything's smooth, and they take that negative focus off of them to give them those excuses, to enable them the best they can so that their family doesn't look disturbed or dysfunctional. The hero is normally the firstborn child or one of the A components, an A personality, because they're an overachiever. They do high grades. They want everyone to see how good they are, to build up their family, to take that focus off the addict or alcoholic. They also have this tendency to be a perfectionist. Perfectionism is also a problem with addiction and alcoholism, because you think you have to be perfect, and we're all human, which can bring on to some more of the dysfunction of the family, not feeling like they're enough. So they have a lot of shame and guilt built up inside. The scapegoat, it sounds exactly what it is. The scapegoat is someone that gets blamed for all the chaos and the problems. They normally tend to be the rebel or the person that isn't so good in school. They have a tendency to get blamed for everything, to take the focus off the addict or alcoholic again. That child likes to do disruptive things, and they into adrenaline rushes, things that are dangerous, driving cars fast, and maybe even sports, because that's an adrenaline rush for them. The last one because I already did lost child. The last one is the mascot or the clown. That person of the family, they want everyone to be happy. They want to make the unhappy or the chaos to disappear. They want people to get along. So they put on a show. And they are actually one of the, they have a tendency to be more emotional on the inside, but nobody knows it because they're putting on a mask. Sort of like Robin Williams, if you know anything about that comic. He also suffered from the disease of addiction, but he also put on masks, being the funniest person that we know, yet he was weak inside. So we got to understand that when we have these roles in our family, which we do, and you might have more than one role, it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means you can identify the problems that you might need to work on, or that you can work together as a family. Working together as a family is the most important thing about this disease of addiction that is embedded in the family that we love and cherish. To have the next part of my presentation is going to be about communication. Okay, communication, having healthy communication is the heart of any relationship. If you have someone that is in recovery, you understand that they need to recover, okay? And when they come back from being in treatment, we've helped them learn how to talk in a different way than when they were using drugs and alcohol. So we teach them how to stop, think before they speak, okay? And when we communicate to them, if they might do the same behaviors as they did before they left, we might communicate to them the same way that we used to, like, oh, there you go again, you're going to go use. That is a negative statement. And we can't afford to put that negativity back into them and expect them not to gravitate and start doing their negative behavior again. So we teach them to think before they speak. Before they speak, like for instance, you said, oh, you're going to do that again. So we would teach them to stop and think, okay, should I say, no, I'm not, because you haven't made me do anything wrong yet, you know, and that isn't the right behavior to say. So they are going to think about it. Is it true? No, what I'm going to say isn't true, okay? Is it helpful? If I lash back at them, it's not going to help the way they feel right now. Is it inspiring? Inspiring to them today, now that they've been working on their spirituality, they know to find out if that's what God wants them to do, or if that's the right next thing according to the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous. So if it's not going to be inspiring, helpful, or true, they're just going to stop. Is it necessary? Is it necessary for me to say something ugly back to someone when they say something? It's not. Is it kind? That is the one thing that we have to understand, that when we speak to someone, is it kind? When we communicate to someone else, changing the statements to I is important. Using understanding words is important. And remembering that we need to take responsibility in addition to letting them have responsibility for the things that we would like them to do. Like for instance, if somebody is looking for work right now, okay, they're looking for work, the kids are being noisy, the TV's on, and they're getting frustrated, they're getting agitated, and you see how they're saying, I can't do this with all this sound. Instead of saying, well, you just don't want to get a job, you could say something a little more productive. Similar to, I understand there's a lot of noise right here, and it's hard getting a job right now. Why don't I tell the kids to go outside? I'll turn off the TV, and I'll sit here, and I'll help you out if you need it, because I understand it's hard for you to be able to deal with all this stress and commotion. Those are ways that we can learn how to communicate. No, it's not going to happen the first time you try it. That's why we teach these guys and ladies to practice. They got to practice over and over and over again, just like they did when they started using. When we teach them to start changing, we teach them about Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, get a sponsor, work some steps. Well, you also have a choice where you can go to Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, or CODA. CODA is codependency. We don't like to say that we have codependency, but I teach my gentlemen that if you're an addict or alcoholic, you are codependent because you're codependent to your drug. Sometimes we need to understand that we might need to change our codependency to something that's more productive, like I need to go to meetings, or I need to pray to God, or I need to do those sort of things rather than what I want to do. I hope this presentation was successful in helping you break down that it's okay to have some of these roles. Until we identify what the roles are and we educate ourselves on them, we won't be able to help the problem. If we don't see the problem, we can't find the solution. The solution is about change, and we can't do it by ourselves and overnight. So we need to work together as a family to do so. And hopefully you will use the think thing before we speak. It's okay, we don't have to react instantly to someone's actions. We can stop for a minute and see if this is what God wants us to do. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.